So I'm a bit sicky at the moment, and I've got no one to chitty chat with. So I'm gonna make a video just talking about things that I'm thinking about while I'm sick. In no particular order, in no real relation to one another. Uh, I've been thinking a lot about what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, which I think, is par for the course when you're 26 years old. And we're coming up on fall, which always brings this certain feeling of like, what have I accomplished this year? What have I done? That sounded dramatic, but my whole world changed like last year, and I've had a lot of really, I don't want to say traumatic, but just really large moments this year that have also shifted the course of what I'm doing. And I find myself so often being like, what am I doing? Because to a certain extent, going after a degree or something would probably satisfy the Capricorn and very logical side of me that tells me that that's what I should be doing. Like, that's what your sister did. That's what you should do. Like, and I strongly value stability. But then there's another part that I want to learn about music, and then another part where I want to travel. And it's hard for me to reconcile all of the things that I want to do down. Like, it feels like I have to siphon it down into me as one person. And that's really hard. So I think that a lot of time I get stuck in trying to mediate having a million things that I want to do and feeling like I'm only one person that can do it. I made a lot of goals for this year, and for the first time in a long time, I can say that I actually followed through with a fair bit of them, and the year's not over yet, so it feels good to have things accomplished. I think some of the things that I didn't put on my list are the things that really scare me, which is like getting out there socially, because I have like terrible social anxiety. Obviously, I'm on the internet, so I probably do. And I just find that I don't have time for bullshit. I think so many people, because I'm so observant, I'm INFP, pretty rare, I don't know, whatever. But I find myself observing people a lot, and as soon as I clue into whether they're full of shit or not, I don't want any part of it. And I constantly feel kind of crazy because most of what we care about, even me talking about what it is that I want to do, it's like we're facing really a global catastrophe when it comes to climate change. And sometimes things feel all for naught. Like when you already have depression, and then you're like, oh, yeah, the world is also having serious problems. And I guess it sort of leads me into some of the metaphysical things that I've been discovering and learning about and wanting to sort of get into and understand, is the fact that nothing is separate from anything else. We are interconnected, much like trees are interconnected, and our energies are interconnected. And we're we're wrong. We're doing things wrong. We're treating each other awfully, and no one responds well to someone telling them they're wrong. That's just how it goes. Um, it's hard to be criticized when it's your way of life, and a lot of what we do isn't kind and isn't in accordance with nature, which is why Mother Nature is losing her fucking shit on us. And it's hard to say whether or not we could actually control what's going on or not, because that puts us in a um, godlike view where who to say that we could actually end up controlling it, because human beings have existed for hundreds of thousands of years, and we're living in probably one of the most stable climates for our species. Anywho, but the more that I realize how connected we are, the less I feel alone. And I think for a long time that was a part of why I couldn't get out and talk to people and didn't want to be a part of things, is because I thought there's me and then there's them. There's people who are kind, and there's people who want to be genuine and authentic to themselves and to live a life that isn't based on this schema that doesn't work anymore. And there's people that are trapped in a system that doesn't work anymore, in a system that makes people thirsty for the demise of other people, and in a system that perpetuates us, sort of like a Roman Colosseum um, lifestyle, where we look up to celebrities and we want to see them fall, where we see our friends on Facebook, and I use that loosely, where we see people on Facebook and something bad happens in their life, and then you go and talk about it with a friend about how terrible their life is, and it's trying to feel better by comparison, when really we're not happy because we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing as a species. I feel. um, Sorry, like I said, I'm sick, so if I'm clearing my throat or sound gross, apologies. I worry a lot about the world and about whether or not my particular motives for doing the things that I'm doing are selfish, and if wanting to live a life that eventually could affect people in the way that they'd be like, oh wow, she does this, maybe I can do, sort of like a tertiary positive effect versus a direct one, or some sort of action directed towards changing the way things are. Um, which probably, yeah, it probably is selfish, but I'm not immune. I don't think any of us are, to the fact that we're living in a very me first world. It's constructed primarily that there is no brotherhood, there is no family, there is a definite separation between myself and somebody else, and I don't want the world to be like that. I think that I'm coming to a place where I want to see more of what the world has to offer, and I want to see other ways of living, because where I am now, it confuses me. It confuses me so much that so many people do things that don't make them happy. And they're like, well, it's because I have to. Well, who told you that you have to? And why? Why do you feel the need to do it just because you have to? Find something else that makes you happier. And 9 times out of 10, I make this joke often that I'm a muse, because pretty much every job I ever have, most of the people end up leaving because I end up talking them into going after whatever it is that they want to do in life instead of just sitting around and, well, not sitting around, but instead of just staying where they are and accepting that their life can't be any better, because I don't believe that. Refuse to believe that. I think that a lot, like, everything that people do is so invaluable. Food service is invaluable. Medicine is invaluable. And if it's what you're meant to do, and if it's what you love to do, if you love being a part of, helping people in those ways, then that's beautiful. Go to school for it. Don't go to school for it. Just join, the force for it. But I think so often we do things not because we want to do them, but because we're expected to do them. And I find that a bit absurd because we're all going to die. We're all going to die. I've thought about that a lot lately too. My grandma passed away not too long ago. And there was a moment, because I sat with her for the last 2 days of her life, and which is an intense thing. And there was a picture above the bed where she was laying. Sorry, I'm saying a lot, and I'm sorry. But there was a picture above her bed with her and her brothers, and they were children. And to see her lifeless and small. She had cancer, so, it ravages your body. And to see that comparison of her as a happy child with her whole life ahead of her. She was a baby and in front of this house, and to see her laying there as she was and knowing that pretty soon she was going to die, it made it absolutely absurd to me to do anything that you don't want to do, because we are all guaranteed that specifically, and only that. Life is always changing. Nothing ever turns out the way you want or the way you think. I don't want to say the way you want, because very often it does turn out the way you'd like it to, even if not in the manner that you expected. And it just made living kind of absolutely absurd. It's such a funny thing that we separate ourselves so much when we're all destined for the same thing, and that we keep ourselves from doing things because we're afraid of what other people will think, but they're not going to be there. Most of the time, they won't be there. Later, we owe it to ourselves, in my opinion, to do the things that we're supposed to do. And I don't know, I mean, you might be religious, you might not be, but I feel like there's a definite calling on every single person's heart that you're good at something. Whether you've been put in positions to know what that is or not is totally dependent on circumstance, and sometimes people will never recognize their inborn talents, which is so sad, which I'd find it, but we don't know each other. And I just want to have more conversations like that. I want to meet more people who share the vision that I have for the world, which is people being different, accepting them. The world is changing along with technology. We're trying to make a system based around a 40-hour work week, when so much of that comes from a different time. We're not living there anymore, and we haven't adjusted the parameters of anything to age with the technology that we're birthing. And I feel like part of the anxiety that so many people feel is because of the fact that we're not keeping up with how fast our world is moving and how quickly things are changing. I know my attention span is not keeping up with how fast things are changing and how quickly things are moving. And at times this past year, I felt like I was never going to be able to keep up and that I wasn't going to be able to figure things out. I had more good days than bad days this past year. And just a lot of personal realizations. I'm still not super close to what it is that I'm supposed to do, but I'm trying. I'm trying stuff. And I think that's important. Yeah. If you sat through this, it was so rambly. I didn't even know what I'm saying. But it's just some of the things that I've been thinking about. I didn't want to say anything politically because I feel like we're also outgrowing that too. The political sphere that we have now in all nations all around the world don't work and will not work in the world that's coming. Take that as a liberating thing because it means that we get to be the people that figure that out too. So that's super cool. And if you haven't heard it in a while, somebody out there loves you. It's not me, but it's somebody.